Hi, I'm Lisa from Modern Quilt Club and I'm bringing to you an introduction to the Mystery Quilt. The Mystery Quilt is a block of the month quilt programme that I run on behalf of Sheila, also known as @MysteryQuilter on Instagram and Facebook. And the Quilt Club is a 10-month block of the month. And the difference is that the only thing you know about the Quilt Club is the fabrics that you choose. I usually issue between 4 and 5 different colourways. The Quilt Club that's currently running at the moment, called Name of the Rose, that's most of these fabrics here in this middle section. And you get to choose which colourway you would like, and the rest is a mystery up until clue 10 is issued. What I'm hoping to do is to bring you a guide with regards to the mystery quilt and what you receive in the club. So for anyone who's never taken part in my mystery quilt club, it'll be an introduction so that you can see what you receive and how it all works. And for anyone who maybe is already sewing along, these videos will hopefully act as a little bit of a guide, or if there's anything you're unsure of, I'm planning to do step-by-step tutorials, going through the instructions, giving you hints and tips. So hopefully there's something there for everybody. And yeah, it's just a sew along with the mystery quilt. So I'm going to use the current club that we're about halfway through for Name of the Rose, which was the first quilt club for 2020, and we've just launched the colourways for the second quilt for 2020, which is called Are You Game? So you can head over to the website to see what's available on those ones. I'll talk through more of that a little bit later. But that actually starts in July, so you've time, if you're interested, to still sign up for that right now, if you're watching this as I release the video. What I'm hoping to show to you right now is what was included and what you will receive in your first box when you sign up for the Mystery Quilt with Modern Quilt Club. I opted to sign up for the Electron colourway, and I did it in the small size because the quilt comes in small and large. I can go through all of those details with you. So the first thing that you get is the colour card. Basically each of the colours and fabrics in this quilt are all numbered, and this will be needed throughout the 10 months as the clues show each of the numbers and the placements for the fabrics as we go, but you will see that when I show you the clues. And then on the back there's just a little bit of an introduction, a list of what's in your box so you can check that you've got everything, that we've not missed anything, an introduction to the Facebook group, because there's a very active Facebook group for all of the mystery quilts that have ever run. You can join that and be a member and see everyone else's quilts as they go, and past ones that people are still working on. And then just a little bit of a welcome and a thank you from myself. So you have the colour card, then we have a helpful tips and tricks sheet. So it details what shapes are going to be included within this mystery quilt. Each club works on the basis of triangles, squares and rectangles. Very simple shapes. Depending on the design that Sheila's made, we might have 3 sizes of triangles, 3 or 4 sizes of squares, and the same of the rectangles. This time we've just got the small and large triangles, small and large squares, and then 3 different sizes of rectangles. And when we get close to the end, there'll possibly be some borders in month 10, which is usually the way. So a little bit more information there, just so you know. Confirms your fabric chart. Again, an introduction to the Facebook group, and then Sheila's first sewing tip, which is to confirm that you can sew a scant 1/4 inch seam. Now it's recommended that you do this, I'd say every time you sew a block really, because it does require a scant seam, and there's a very easy way to test just by sewing 3 pieces of fabric together and measuring it. So I will go through that. I like to use a particular foot on my machine that I feel gives me a scant 1/4 inch. If you know your machine really well and you're happy to go, just go ahead. But it's worth testing. as well, just for tension on your machine. And then you will have the first clue with the pieces of fabric. Now, as I said, or maybe not said already, I've already sewn up clue 1 for this mystery quilt. So I'll actually be starting from clue 2, but what I will do is I will show you what I did in clue 1. So this was the instructions, and they come like this with a diagram of what the blocks are going to look like. So in clue 1 we had 2 blocks that were making up of identical pieces, and then these are all of the pieces that would be included in your kit. So it's worthwhile when the block boxes actually arrive is to check off each of the items. So you would have a small triangle in A, so this is the black fabric for me, and there should be 4 of them. And so what I tend to do is go through each of the boxes and make sure that I've got the right number of pieces in the right colour fabric. Basically, it's myself who does all of the cutting, I do all of the packing, so it's myself who's quality control. And, you know, I do make the odd mistake, and it's only human, I suppose. So if you have any problems at all, on your welcome page, there is a link as to where you can let me know if you've got any issues at all with either your instructions or the pieces within your blocks. So there's the front part of the instructions showing you what was in clue 1. Then on the reverse, we have some really nice, simple, step-by-step instructions. There's nothing too complicated about the instructions, and they're really easy to follow. Like I said, I've already gone through these to make my first 2 blocks. So what I will do is I will go through clue 2 and do the step-by-step instructions. So as you can see here, clue 1, we're making 2 blocks. There were 2 identical blocks. Hey presto. So before I begin with clue 2 and sewing through the instructions, I'm just going to go through Sheila's sewing tip to check your 1/4 inch is a scant 1/4 inch. And it's a simple process of sewing 3 pieces of fabric together that each measure 2.5 inches. And you should be left with the centre piece measuring exactly 2 inches if you've got it right. If you've not, you'll know whether you just need to maybe increase or decrease your seam allowance a little bit to allow for it. And it is quite important because these blocks throughout the quilt club, you know, go together really accurately if you have got an accurate 1/4 inch seam. And obviously you're doing these a month apart, so it's useful to check your seam allowance each time. So I've sewn my 3 pieces together. I've just pressed them out to one side, as you can see there. It doesn't really matter for this test piece which way you press them. It is just an exercise for testing your seam allowance. If I get my ruler and place it on the lines there, I've gone a little bit skewy down here, but I think that was more me not being accurate when I first started off. But my centre block does measure 2 inches. This is actually a 1/4 inch foot, which you can see is slightly smaller than that one, but it does the same job. It has a guide on the side. It just bounces up and down a little bit, so you can actually hold that down while you're sewing if you wish. But the idea is your fabric just butts alongside it, and it doesn't stray away. If you see it moving away from the guide, you know your seam's going to be too narrow, and it really won't go too far, making your seam too wide that way. This is off an old machine I used to use, so you can see different feet all do the same job, so it just depends on your brand of machine as to what kind of foot you might get with it. But if you're looking at a foot that's got something like this on the side, the chances are that's going to be your 1/4 inch foot, and you can give that a go. I hope that the first introduction video to the Mystery Quilt has been useful, either for those people who have been sewing along. Obviously I know you might have done these a few months back. Anyone that's not started, then there you go, you've got a little bit of a pointer to get you going. But for anyone who's maybe never joined the club before, I hope it's been a nice introduction as to what is involved in the quilt club. But you do end up with a quilt top that is similar to this one that's just behind me here. This is from a couple of years ago. And yeah, they're really straightforward to put together, really simple designs, but really effective in all of the different colourways that's available. So this colourway that we've just been sewing up today, Electron, is for the quilt that was released earlier on this year and is already underway. But if you're interested, there are 4 colourways to choose from for the up-and-coming quilt club, which is the mystery quilt called Are You Game? And it features some of these fabrics here and a fabric line that's due to arrive with me any day now as well. So there's a 4th one to be added to that shelf. I'm going to have to make a little bit more room. But yeah, all the information is on the website, and you've got a variety of choices of colour, choices of size, and there's options on there to be able to pay in full or to be paid by monthly subscription. Yeah, so if you've any questions, head on over to the website, or you can drop me an email. There's a contact page on the website, and sign up to the newsletter.